steps from the Capitol in Cheyenne with reporters in your hometown. These are the top stories from the Cowboy State Daily News Center.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Monday, November 17th. I'm Mac Watson. This newscast is brought to you by the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. Did you know that 1 in 3 Wyoming adults have prediabetes and most don't realize it? Are you tough enough to know your numbers? Take the quiz at findoutwy.org. A Natrona County GOP delegate was called out at the state party's leadership meeting in Torrington on Saturday to explain a refusal to pay more than $30,000 in dues. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports the county chair said it's partly because of the punitive attitude of the state GOP.
There's been bigger county parties feeling like they're disenfranchised in the gathering of the state contingency. Now there's philosophical divide a little bit with a lot of people out of Natrona feeling like, why are we so hard on county clerks? Why are we so heavy on policing them? Why does it seem like this party is headed a punitive direction? This is where it gets tricky because the party is also a structure of state law. They can't be totally disenfranchised because there is a state law providing for their representation at that state convention, and that is because they have a role in filling vacancies in Republican offices.
Natrona County Republican Party Chair Rob Hendry tells Cowboy State Daily that by the end of the biennium, the Natrona County Republican Party will have reached more than $50,000 in arrears. Ramaco's Brook Mine project in Wyoming, touted as a rare earth bonanza, is drawing fierce scrutiny from geologists and short sellers. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the company stands by its pitch to investors and says criticisms are a smear campaign in search of a payday.
We've been looking into this. What is the true value of the Brook Mine, which is Ramaco's enterprise there near Ranchester? And there's differing opinions. Ramaco stands by its assertions that it is rich in critical minerals like scandium. However, there's differing opinions about how much demand there is for scandium and what the real price will be. And so that's what it really comes down to, is like how much scandium and other critical minerals really exist at the Brook Mine. And a bunch of veteran geologists are scratching their heads saying, look, from my experience, it just doesn't add up the way Ramaco says it does. This has played out before in all kinds of mining sectors, and here we have Wyoming right at the forefront of a new frontier.
The emerging market for domestically produced rare earths and critical minerals like scandium is a brave new world for mining companies, investors, and economists trying to make sense of it all. According to some, day drinking is underrated. Cowboy State Daily's Zach Sontag reports that even as the power went out last week in part of Wyoming, it didn't faze the day drinking millbillies at the Bayou Bar in Mills.
There's a real sense of community that you get with a place like the Bayou Bar. You really can get any mixture of personalities. On the one hand, there was a moment where I'm sitting there and I've got to my right this former roustabout roughneck, left home at 14. He's a chain smoker and he is telling incredibly cringe jokes. And then on my left, I've got a Pilates instructor going on about reformers and telling me how to strengthen my core. And in those moments where it just, for me, that really captures the promise of day drinking.
2 high-voltage transmission lines were tripped near Medicine Bow, causing tens of thousands of customers across Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota to lose power, but that didn't faze the day drinkers at the Bayou Bar. A World War II airplane that's been converted into a one-of-a-kind motorhome was recently spotted in Wyoming. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi introduces us to Gino Lucci and his creation, the Fabulous Flamingo.
It wasn't exactly a perfect airplane. It had been used during World War II, and it had gotten caught in a twister in 2008. So when he picked it up in 2015, he realized that the bottom was corroded, it was twisted, so restoring it back to museum quality just wasn't an option. But he had this dream since he was 8 years old. He saw Real People, the TV show, and someone on that show had a motorhome that was made out of an old airplane. So he decided, hey, let's do that. So they got a truck chassis, they put this airplane fuselage on top of it, and then they've spent the better part of going on 10 years now just tweaking at this thing to get it ready and roadworthy, and it's still a work in progress.
The car-plane hybrid is 38 feet long, over 12 feet tall, and has a maximum speed of around 70 miles per hour and gets about 10 miles to the gallon. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
The Wyoming way of life. There's nothing like it. And no financial partner like your local cooperative credit union to help you live life the way you want to. We help you save for a brighter future, borrow for your dream home, start your small business. We've got your finances, and you've got plans. So go ahead, pitch a tent, head for the rodeo, reel in a big trout, fire up the smoker. Wyoming's credit unions are here to stay and here for you.
Chevrolet and GMC ended their legendary square body pickup line in 1987 and their square body Suburban and Blazer line a few years later. But Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports these vehicles are now hot again and truck nuts around Wyoming want them.
It's just funny how, they were just kind of run-of-the-mill vehicles back then, but they become these really kind of cool, high-value collectors. They're considered vintage and cool now. Trucks that might have bought them off the showroom floor for a few $1,000s back in the day, people are given, on the low end, $27,000, $30,000 for these things, depending upon the condition they are in.
Automotive writer Aaron Turpin in Cheyenne tells Cowboy State Daily that the current fever for Chevy square bodies, as well as their square body Ford counterparts, is rooted in nostalgia. But, Turpin adds, square bodies are also seen to be popular with teens and young adults as well. Laramie County Sheriff Brian Kozak is offering some helpful advice for criminals. Don't talk on a jail telephone about selling stolen stuff and drugs to raise money to get you out of jail on drug charges. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports criminals come up with some convoluted but really stupid plans to get bail money.
Basically, the plan was these other people go down to that supplier, get some drugs. They also go out to a storage unit that he has where he has stashed a bunch of stolen merchandise that he's stolen from around Cheyenne. They fence that stuff. They go down to Denver to get the drugs and sell it all to get money so that he can get out of jail. So his plan to bond out of jail for selling drugs, or allegedly selling drugs, was to sell more drugs and stolen stuff so that he can get out of jail. So the same business plan that got him in jail, apparently he thought it would work to get him out too.
The sheriff tells Cowboy State Daily that even after being in law enforcement for over 40 years, criminals still do things he has not seen before. Gillette judge Paul Phillips, a.k.a. author James Chandler, has written 8 best-selling legal thrillers inspired by his life experiences. Cowboy State Daily's Jen Coker reports that Phillips has just signed a deal with a major Hollywood producer with the goal of turning his book Misjudged into a 6 to 8 part docuseries.
We got a letter one day, and it was from a producer. He didn't know if he should take it seriously, so he sent it to his publisher, and his publisher said, yes, that's serious. That's a legitimate producer. Email him back immediately. So he did. And he has since signed with this producer. He's not allowed to say who it is.
Along with being a best-selling author, Phillips is also an avid outdoorsman and veteran, as well as a circuit court judge. Larry Bentley was hired to trail 30 quarter horses for 450 miles alone across Wyoming and into Colorado. Cowboy State Daily's Jackie Dorothy reports that this was no small feat back in the mid-'80s, as Bentley took these horses on an outlaw trail where the Hole-in-the-Wall gang used to trail their stolen horses 80 years before.
When Larry Bentley took on this horse drive in 1984, most horses were being transferred by semi-truck. So this was really unique, and that's why it's one of the very last known ones that went through this remote territory. What made his trip really difficult was not only was he going through areas where there weren't many people, but there was also wild horses that were trying to steal his mares. So he wasn't even able to stop along the route on some of those areas.
That successful trip and a lifetime of cowboying has earned Bentley a place in the Wyoming Cowboy Hall of Fame. He is still in the saddle today as he and his family run a cattle operation in Hot Springs and Fremont counties. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can listen to this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for listening. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.